This conference will now be recorded.
So, Dick, whenever you want to start.
Yep. Well, thank you again all for getting on today. I probably missed. Did I miss the roll call? That's what I missed. So we don't need.
No,
to do
we haven't
anything.
done anything yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Brent. I'll start myself with Dick Kilhart, Athol DPW. We just go around everybody. There's new folks. Jump right in.
We have Janet Tice, Shirley, Planning Board.
Alice
Robert.
Litch, Hubbardston Planning Board.
Robert Schwartz, Gardner Planning Board.
Irwin.
Jim Kilhart, Harvard DPW.
Guy called the Cero Winchendon Planning Board.
And me, George Kahali, Mart.
I'll do Brad Harris, MRPC staff.
Jerry Bean, MRPC staff.
Daryl Amaral, Mass DOT District 2.
Sarah Bradbury, MassDOT District 3.
Chris Clem, MassDOT Office of Transportation Planning.
George Snow, MRPC staff.
And it looks like we also have Tracy Murphy from Winchendon Planning and Randy Williams.
Okay.
That's what that's.
Thank you very much. We'll move forward with some public comments, and I just have one that I'd like to bring up, and it's not maybe the place to bring it up, but I have a handful of DOT folks on this call. Can you tell me why Mass DOT has decided to do a MAP-IT upgrade during the submittal season for Chapter 90? And maybe we can't answer that today, but it's very challenging for folks that have contractors coming into town in a week or two, and we can't get on there and submit, and we can't do it the old-fashioned way. Go, Daryl. I know you want to say something.
No, I'm deferring. I don't know, Chris, do you have any input? I don't.
Yeah, I'm not the expert on this one, but I've heard this concern from another region as well. I was told that the MAP-IT update shouldn't last longer than this week. Not convenient, really horrible timing. I didn't know it was being updated until someone brought it to my attention. So
I as well. Same here.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for listening to my rant. Moving forward, the minutes were submitted electronically. We can entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the March 9th, 2022 meeting.
I had a comment on the minutes.
Sure.
Yeah, I think under, and maybe George Snow can help us here, but under number 4, which was Route 2 area plan developments truck estimates, I think the 363 to 492 truck estimate is not correct. According to George's presentation at that meeting, I think the total was somewhere between 713 and 842. So I think the minute should definitely reflect the correct numbers. So George, maybe you could comment?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look at them after. I'll take a look at them and get back to you on that. I guess that's the best we can do. Brad?
We can take a look at it and confirm it. It might be that it states new truck trips, so maybe this number you're referring to also includes all the existing truck
No,
traffic.
it's the net total. It's from the
Net total?
second to last page of the presentation. And it's the total truck trips inbound and outbound, which I think is the number we would want to capture.
Okay. We'll go
Because
back.
that's the number that will be affecting the surrounding communities and the highways and so on.
Okay. We'll go back and take a look at it and update it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So we we can move forward by approving that subject to those verifications and/or potential changes. Would that be okay?
That's
Yeah,
fine.
fine with me.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Moving forward to item number 4, a fiscal year 22 through 26 tip. Brad, are you going to take that?
Yeah, I'm going to do that one.
Okay.
Brian has up on the screen. Last month, the MPO was notified of the need to do an amendment to the FFY 2022 highway element of the current TIP 22 to 26 TIP. The amendment reflects basically the cost change to 2 separate projects. And you can see up on the screen the handout that I'm referring to. Basically, the first one is a bridge project in Petersham, bridge replacement P0802 Glen Valley Road over East Branch of Swift River. There's been an increase of the project cost. It's gone from $2,050,591 to $2,844,044. This is an increase of $793,000. So it's approximately 38.7% increase in the total project cost. Because of that, it triggers the need for an amendment. The second project involved in this is in Leominster. It's the Leominster Viscaloid Ave improvements related to safe routes to school. This project has gone from $2,232,000 to $3,094,000, so an increase of $826,000, or about 38.6%. Now, both of these projects are outside of our target project listing, so they do not impact our fiscal constraint issues. The further information on these changes are highlighted in the memo you see in front of you. The need to increase the bridge project was due to the rising price of steel. The project includes a steel beam superstructure and the use of steel H-piles in the proposed integrated pile support abutments. In the Leominster Safe Routes to School project, there's been an increase between the 25 and 75% submittals due to the addition of sidewalks throughout the length of the project. There was an increase between the 75% and the 100% submission due to the inclusion of a few smaller sections of additional sidewalks and the relocation of sidewalks in some locations to avoid the need to relocate utility poles. So those are the reasons behind the increases in those 2 projects. Mass DOT notified us of this. They asked us to do a TIP amendment. The MPO at their last meeting voted to put this out for a 21-day public review and comment period. That comment period began on March 25th, and it will close tomorrow on April 14th. To date, we have not received any comments on these projects, either favorably or unfavorably. But we're also taking comments tonight or today at the MJTC meeting. And outside of the comments, what we would like from the JTC is a recommendation to the MPO to either endorse this TIP amendment or not endorse, and the reason why.
Is there some discussion from the group or that would like to speak to or against for some reason?
No,
That's,
doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any, Brad.
I'll move the endorsement, Guy Corbacero.
I'll second it, Bob Schwartz from Gardner.
So it's been motioned and seconded. Is there any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, we can move forward to approve that. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Just one last thing, the MPO is meeting next week on the 20th, and they'll be taking up the endorsement of these 2 projects at that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward to item number 5, fiscal year 2023 through 27 tip, some updates on the discussion of the full draft tip document. And we were all sent that draft listing in one of the attachments in the email, but Brad, you're going to put that up for us, or Brian, so that we
Yep.
can
Yep.
see
My
that?
microphone wasn't on before, but I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yep.
Am I coming through? All right.
Yep.
Thank you. Yep. So after a few months of discussion of the projects, we finally have a draft document, which will be discussed at next week's MPO, and they'll vote to possibly send it out for a 21-day public comment period, which will likely be from Monday, April 25th to Monday, May 16th. So at that point, we'll have the full draft on our website, and at the JTC meeting next month on May 11th, we'll have a chance as a group to make a comment on the draft.
Brian, can I just jump in 1 second?
Sure.
The full draft document, all 100+ pages of it, is available on a website now. If you go to the meeting announcement for the MPO next week, you'll see it listed down below. You'll be able to download those, and we'll be putting up a notice on the announcement once about the comment period once that's settled. So, but it is on our website under the meeting announcement information for the MPO meeting on April 20th.
Okay, thank you. Basically, we've been going over the project list of the last few months, and at last month's meeting, we came up with a recommended scenario for the target projects. And basically, we've gone off of that, and there's been a few minor changes since we talked last month, but nothing too major. But I'll just briefly go over each of these project lists. The first being the transit projects. These are under the discretion of the Transit Authority, MART. And this list is unchanged from last month. I won't go over it in detail, but basically it's projects that include things like vehicle replacement and facility maintenance and upgrades. And you can see under the notes column, it describes each of these projects more in detail. And it's the same 5 federal fiscal years as the target section and the statewide section, 2023 through 2027. The statewide section, we went over this last month's meeting, and there have been some minor changes, and I'll go over these projects. These are under the discretion of Mass DOT, and those projects listed in the statewide list in our region. The first in 2023, Harvard Bridge Replacement, Route 2 over the Nashua River. Phillipston Templeton Pavement Preservation related work on Route 2. Fitchburg Pavement Preservation on Route 2. Ashby intersection improvements on Greenville Road, Route 31, and Turnpike Road. And Gardner Elm Street resurfacing and sidewalk improvements, which is a safe route to school project. And that rounds out our statewide projects for 2023. In 2024, we have Fitchburg Bridge Replacement, Water Street over Boulder Drive, and the Pan Am Railroad over the Nashua River, which is a major project on Route 12 in Fitchburg going towards downtown. And Athol intersection improvements, Crescent Street and Chestnut Hill Ave. In Hubbardston Bridge Replacement, Williamsville Road over the Burnshire River. Fitchburg Ashby resurfacing and related work on Route 31. And Fitchburg Leominster Twin Cities Rail Trail construction phase 2. And one note I'll mention is one of the minor changes is the Athol intersection improvements at Crescent Street and Chestnut Hill Ave project. In our recommended scenario last month, we had that under our target section, the MPO discretion section. And thankfully, we were able to have that listed in the statewide section of projects, which gets it off the book in our target section. It's still funded in 2024. Nothing will change in that regard in terms of construction, but just simply a different funding category. So that's one of the minor changes. In 2025, we have Sterling stormwater drainage improvements on Wachusett Reservoir on Route 110, and Athol bridge replacement, Main Street over the Boston Main Railroad. In Gardner, bike path bridge construction, North Central Pathway over Route 140. And at the Athol project, the bridge project over the Boston Main Railroad is listed twice here in this list. Only one project though, so that'll have to be rectified on the final step. In 2026, one project, Fitchburg improvements at Memorial Middle School, another Safe Routes to School project. And finally, in the final year, 2027, one project in the statewide section, Lancaster, Leominster, interstate maintenance and related work on I-190. Which brings us to the target listing, which has been most of the discussion of this group and the MPO over the last few months. So there are some minor changes, although all the same projects are being funded and in the same years. So the list that's currently in the draft tip that will go up for public comment includes in 2023 Gardner roundabout construction at Elm Street, Pearl Street, Central Street, and Green Street. In Westminster, rehab and box widening on 140. In Templeton, roundabout construction at the intersection of Patriots Road, South Main Street, North Main Street, and Gardner Road. In 2024, there is one project listed. That's the first year of a 2-year construction funded project, Leominster reconstruction rehab on Route 12 Central Street. As I mentioned previously, that Gardner Crescent Street project was listed in 2024, but we've been able to move it to the statewide section. That's good news because we actually anticipate some cost increases in this Leominster Route 12 project that we haven't quite seen yet, but we anticipate it shortly. And since it's a fiscally constrained document, we can't go over our target allocation. That'll give us some room. In 2025, the Leominster reconstruction and rehab at Route 12 and Ashburnham Road rehab on Route 101. Originally, this Leominster project was advanced constructed over 3 years, so listed over 3 years of the funding cycle. We've been able to move that to 2 years due to moving that Athol project off the statewide section. Again, this just allows us more leeway to possibly absorb some of those cost increases that we see coming down the line. In 2026, we have the first year of Harvard resurfacing and box widening on Air Road, along with Templeton reconstruction of Route 68 from King Philip Trail to the Phillipston Town Line. And finally, in 2027, the second year of the Harvard resurfacing project on Air Road, along with Clinton reconstruction of Sterling Street, Route 62, and Athol intersection improvements at Route 2A and Brookside Road. And finally, the appendix projects. These haven't been assigned a year yet, and hopefully we can get these funded in a future step. So this is what we ended up with, some minor changes that included that Athol project being moved to the statewide section, although it's funded in the same year. And we've moved the Leominster Route 12 project to be funded over 2 years, 2024 and 25, as opposed to 3. That's the project that we anticipate some cost increase coming at some point. So the good news is we'll have plenty of room to absorb some additional costs from that project. So that's what is in the draft tip that'll go up for public comment. And thank you everyone for your input the last few months and helping building this list. And you should be able to make a public comment on it in the coming weeks. So, are there any questions?
None? Okay. Thank you, Brian. Moving forward, the Unified Work Program, fiscal year 2023. Sherry, probably, correct?
You got it.
There was a... Excuse me, Sherry.
Yeah.
Just want to jump back 1 second. We need a recommendation from the JTC as to whether the MPO should release the draft for public review and comment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Backing up a step. Sorry, Sherry. Hold that thought for 1 second. Is there a recommendation from this group, JTC, to make that recommendation to the MPO?
I'll move to Phil Harvard.
Second, Dick Mackey, Sterling.
Okay, so it's a motion and it's been seconded by the group. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, Brad, thank you.
Yep.
Back to Sherry.
No problem. There is a handout that was sent out. It's just a brief summary of the Unified Planning Work Program. The full document will actually be hopefully released to the MPO at next week's meeting. But for the time being, we can go over the brief summary. So we have in there the, let's see, if you scroll down, there's the table of contents got all kind of messed up just because we had taken out a lot of the pages. So the page numbering is a bit off, but the content is still there. So you can see what will be incorporated into the document. And then we move on to I think the equity section. And that is what we had presented, I think it was 2 months ago. We did a full geographic and social equity analysis for the region, as well as the projects that have been done over the past couple of years. There's a pretty significant table of the past 5-year look back. So those are the projects that had been in UPWPs over the last 5 years, and then which categories they fall under for environmental justice or Title VI. If you keep going, there should be some mapping things. Let's see. So this table actually is a pretty good one. It has everything that's highlighted in yellow, significance communities that were included for all of the categories that we did the analysis on. So if they were federal highway Title VI, federal transit Title VI, as well as environmental justice. The highlighted ones had all 3 of those categories, and then it also listed the number of community-specific tasks that were done. That helped us figure out which communities we may want to try to focus on in the future. And then that table is also represented in the map below. To the next page, Brian. So this map shows both the number of projects as well as where they lie for all the Title VI and environmental justice criteria. Next. And this map shows the geographic equity, so the number of projects just the number of projects that were done for each community, not incorporating the Title VI or environmental justice. As you can see, the communities on the edges tend to be in white, where we have less projects that have been done in those communities. Next. All right, so this is where we get to, we pulled out a couple of projects that are not necessarily always done every year, so it's not as standard, but they're pretty significant nonetheless. So the first one is the Regional Transportation Plan. This will be the bulk of the work that we will be doing on the Regional Transportation Plan for the region, and it's a pretty significant task. We only have until pretty much till June to complete it. So the RTP has to be updated every 4 years. And then basically the RTP is a comprehensive multimodal transportation plan, which is used to enhance the decision-making capability of local, regional, and state officials by identifying both short-range and long-range improvements to the regional transportation system. That's just a very brief overview of what the RTP is. It actually comprehensively examines the existing transportation network in the region, identifies those issues and problems which either require or will require improvements, and outlines possible course of action designed to facilitate the improvements. So part of the methodology on the RTP, so things that we will be doing for this task include identifying stakeholders, which could be community members, or it could be organizations, agencies, and then we'll review the public outreach program, because since COVID, a lot of that has changed. We now do a lot more virtual type outreach, and I know that we'll have to incorporate that and come up to the times. We will also relaunch our RTP specific website. We'll conduct local meetings and workshops to discuss and present the RTP, and some of those will be an overall type of meeting, but some could be more specific, like we have an environmental focus usually for meetings and things like that. We'll update all the chapters and incorporate the new bipartisan infrastructure bill that was recently released, and then develop a plan to, we will include, multimodal approaches. So we'll include bike and ped transportation options. Okay, I think that's all I have for the RTP. Try not to read it entirely because you do probably have it yourself. So just trying to give a brief overview. The next one we have is the Housing Coordination Plan, and this is a unique one. This came from the guidance that we got from MassDOT and Federal Highway. It came out of the bipartisan infrastructure law that was passed. So this task is very new to us. We don't do a lot of housing stuff in the Transportation Department, but we will be working closely with our Community Development Department to complete this task. And what we have here is the task will combine existing reports, materials, and data related to transportation, housing, and economic development goals and strategies in order to develop a housing coordination plan that includes projects that may be considered for the Montachusett Regional Planning Commission, Metropolitan Organizations, RTP. It'll develop regional goals for the integration of housing, transportation, and economic development strategies, identify the location of existing and planned housing and employment developments, and identify transportation options that connect housing and employment centers. Basically, I think the biggest part of this project will be the identifying the gaps in transportation network to employment centers, housing centers, and then good services areas. So we want to identify the areas that are lacking in transportation, and also it'll be based around where the housing clusters tend to be. We want to make sure that we address those issues and try to come up with solutions to create more transportation options for those people. And we will also have additional emphasis on the disadvantaged and underserved populations. That's kind of a key component to this one as well. The next task is intersection analysis. This is one that we typically do most years for the UPWP. And under this task, we have identified 3 projects based on community needs and requests. The 3 projects were Leominster, Route 117 at Jungle Road, Lunenburg, Route 13 at Northfield Road, and Townsend, Route 13 at Route 119. So those 3 projects, we will meet with those communities to determine what their thoughts are on the intersections. We'll conduct vehicle and pedestrian traffic counts. We'll examine the intersection using the level of service, average daily traffic analysis, signal warrant analysis, safety analysis, etc. And then we'll develop improvement recommendations aiming to resolve the issues and safety concerns at those intersections, which hopefully can turn into a future TIP project would be the goal. The next task is the freight task. This is also a big one. This is probably going to incorporate a multi-year task where we had the communities of Air, Lunenburg, and Shirley reach out to us to do an analysis on their trucking routes and freight routes. As we heard from George Snow at the last MJTC meeting, there's lots of industrial developments going on in the region, which is actually increasing the truck traffic on our local community roads, and there's a lot of concern for safety in those areas. So we will engage those communities to kind of identify a freight study guiding committee to help us with a lot of our analysis on that. Once we have the study area identified, we can start to analyze the heavy truck traffic with our traffic counting equipment. We can review and analyze the adjacent land uses, right-of-way environmental constraints, identify the heavy truck constraints as well, and then develop and identify potential short, medium, and long-term improvements based upon feedback from the Freight Study Guiding Committee. The next one I have is for under the transit section. Mart has asked that we update the Human Services Transportation Plan. This is an update from the 2018 plan. And we need to incorporate the 2020 census data for the 3 target populations within MRPC and MART. And those target populations include individuals with disabilities, low-income individuals, or persons below the poverty level, and the elderly. So we will incorporate all those, mostly the census data updates, and then the analysis that goes along with that. The next one is the Transit Development Plan, or TDP, for Mart's Eastern communities. This is another request by Mart to develop a TDP to meet the existing public transit demands and guide the future development of the transit operation for Mart's Eastern communities. And those Eastern communities include Air, Shirley, Littleton, and Devens. So that will incorporate the future development, and it'll cover a 5-year period. So again, this will incorporate the 2020 census data, review current transit services, identify shortcomings, and then recommendations. And I think that is all I have. The actual, we just received last week an update to our planning funding from MassDOT. So this table is outdated as of, I think, last Thursday. So we have a new table put together based off of the new numbers that were given to us, and that will be in the draft, the full draft UPWP, which will be presented at the MPO meeting next week. So that table is a little off. It's actually increased since then. So all of these numbers will now be off, which is unfortunate, but it happens quite often. So if you have any questions on budgeting or funding scenarios, we can let you know now what they are, but the full document will be available at the MPO meeting next week. Does anybody have any questions on any of this?
I just want to jump in. Yeah, Sherry actually informed me of the changes on the budget side. I think it was Monday. It actually came in, the numbers, or that I first saw.
Kind of a blur. I don't know what day it is. Okay.
And it was an increase to our 5303 or the FTA funding. So our MassDOT PL funds amount remained the same, but we got an additional, was it 50,000 on the FTA side? It went from 80,000 to 130 something, 139 maybe. So basically, we're looking to we've redistributed those funds back out onto some of the more transit-heavy tasks. But that was the change in the budget. So it wasn't a bad change. It was an increase. We just have to re-update some of these numbers.
And just like the tip, we would be looking for a recommendation to release this document, the full document, for public comment for the MPO next week.
Thank you, Sherry. Are there any other questions for Sherry? If there are not, go ahead, Elizabeth.
One from Townsend. Yeah. This looks great, by the way. This is just my not knowing. The task number 4.2, the Human Services Transportation Plan. I was curious about that in terms of how it might affect Townsend. I know we're not a MART community, but we have been identified as an MBTA adjacent community, and I'm just sort of looking at ways that we could potentially fall into the public transit that's currently being studied by MRPC.
I would defer that to George Kahali. I think he would know the most about that. George, do you have any input on this?
Yes. As you know, Townsend, it is not part of a MART region. I believe they belong to Lowell or Middlesex. The study will include, because the study, they're going to cover all MRPC towns plus all MART towns.
Okay.
The study will include Townsend, but to be served by MART, this is a different story.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
You know, it has to be served by Middlesex Transit Authority there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is the Lowell Transit Authority in Townsend.
Lowell.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes. We'd love to have you, but Lower, you are part of Lower.
Okay.
Thank you. So I would entertain a motion to make this recommendation available to the MPO at their meeting.
So moved, Guy Corbacero.
Schwartz Gardner seconded.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Before we move on, this is Veronica Kell from Townsend. I have a question then.
Sure.
Should we, if we want to be serviced more than what we are by a bus system similar to MART, as opposed to, should we be attending the Middlesex County meetings that are equivalent to this? I mean, we're in the MRPC community, but we don't have marked transportation. We have Lowell. This is just more for me to understand how this works. Are we not attending a meeting that we should if we want further service from the Lowell Regional Transit Authority?
Do you want me to answer that, Brad?
Sure, George.
Yeah.
If I could just interrupt.
Go ahead.
This is Sarah. I was just looking up on the LRTA webpage, and the member of the LRTA advisory board from the town of Townsend is Anna Howard. I don't know how often they meet or how much Anna plays in that, but she is named as the Townsend member for the LRTA advisory board.
She drives our senior citizen transportation, our bus, the town's bus. So I know Donna. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so we still have a motion that's been made and seconded on the table. Brad, something else you need to add?
No, I was just going to go back to the original question. As George, I think, was going to say, yeah, Townsend should probably attend those advisory board meetings if you want to see increases in service, at least to know what's going on in the Lowell Transit Authority, and be involved with them and see if they offer something that the town may want to take advantage of.
Yeah, for MART, the advisory board meet quarterly, every 3 months. And it is open, this public meeting, open to everyone.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I think we are ready to proceed to a vote on that recommendation. We've had a motion and seconded. We've had some additional discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving forward, item number 7 on contract status reports, Federal Transit Administration. Brad, I'm assuming you touched that one. Thank you.
As we mentioned, we've got a new allocation for our FTA funds, the 5303 funds, so that was a surprise and will be reflected in the new UPWP. We are continuing to work with MART on a couple of projects, the main one being dealing with the ADA accessibility to bus stop locations. Right now we're focusing on the Gardner routes, or routes coming in and out of Gardner. That should be wrapped up by the end of this program year, which will be in September. And then we did meet with MART also to talk about the prior one, Fitchburg and Leominster ADA accessibility study. We need to make some additions to that, and that'll be taken care of also in this next few months, related to, again, bus stops in Fitchburg and Leominster. And other than that, George, I don't know if you have anything that you want to update on?
I don't have too much, just to repeat, MART will be, as I mentioned before, MART will be changing the fare box collection system on our buses to be more reliable and efficient and easy to use by our rider and client to purchase tickets and passes. Also will be installing 10 to 12 vending machine throughout the region to purchase tickets and passes. Then our client, they don't have to come to one location at MART offices to purchase these tickets and passes. Also, I like to mention MART in the process of updating the schedule of the bus routes all over the system, and we like to have comments and ideas. We like to ask you to provide us with any ideas to improve our services. Like if you believe there is neighborhoods is not serviced enough or not serviced at all and needs service, please let us know. That street, that community, we can discuss it.
This is Veronica Cowan Townsend. This just came to my attention. I'm going to ask this now, although it may not be relevant. We, Townsend, are an MBTA adjacent community because we are adjacent to the MBTA line in Fitchburg, which is serviced through MART buses. However, MART buses do not service Townsend. Therefore, we are serviced by LRTA, which goes to whatever MBTA line is up towards Lowell, which we are not adjacent to. Is this a quandary? I mean, does this mean we are an adjacent community, but we cannot get bus service to take us to the line that we are adjacent to? I just realized this.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah. I would defer that question to George and Mark to work out and figure out what that means, jurisdictions.
Yeah, but the MBTA service Lowell too.
Yeah.
Yeah, MBTA does, but that's a different line than we are not adjacent to the MBTA line that services Lowell. We are adjacent to the MBT line that services Fitchburg. So and we can't get bus transportation. We would have to get bus transportation. It would be a long way. We're way closer to Fitchburg.
Yeah.
I have, so who do I talk to about this? Sorry. Sorry to hijack the meeting with this question, but it just occurred to me.
You can talk to us. I will, my phone number, 978-665-2203.
And what is your email, George?
George dot Kahale, Kahale at mrta.us. Maybe I will put it in the chat.
That would be great. Thank you so much. I'm adding you to the email that I'm currently writing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. One additional question. Is there a way to potentially apply for Townsend to be included in the RTA? I mean, is that a process that's available to us?
Yes, yes.
Great.
This is why I will be talking to Miss Veronica.
Thank you.
Thank
There
you.
is a process, has to be voted by the town,
Okay, thank you.
then approved by the state.
Perfect.
All right.
Several towns already done that, like Athol, one of them, like Barry, like Stowe. There are several of them.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, on the Mass Department of Transportation, I just have a couple items. First, the MPO, as I mentioned earlier, is going to meet next week on April 20th at 1 p.m. The major action item will be the discussion on a possible new TIP amendment, what we call TIP Amendment number 4, related to changes in both the highway and the transit elements of federal fiscal year 2022. Again, these proposed changes will not impact our fiscal constraint issues related to target projects because they're outside of that. In addition, they will also seek the release of the draft TIP and UPWP for public comment. Right now, the comment period for all of these items, the proposed amendment and the TIP and UPWP, will likely run from Tuesday, April 26th to Monday, May 16th. The MRPC is currently seeking interns for the upcoming traffic count season. Most of the work will be in data collection based on our current work program. We've posted information for interns at 5 area colleges, and it's also posted on our website under announcements. To date, we have not had any real responses. I think we might have had one inquiry, but no cover letters or resume at this point. But if you know anyone who might be interested, please have them check our website so that they can get the information, and they can also reach out to us to talk about the program. If we don't get individuals soon, we may have to look at other alternatives for our traffic count program coming up. And finally, there is one handout. Brian, put that up. It's from the consulting firm of Weston and Sampson and the city of Fitchburg. It's related to a public meeting on flood reduction for Falula and Baker Brook. This meeting is scheduled for tonight at 6 p.m. They're going to focus on project priorities for reducing flooding on John Fitch Highway and the rest of the Falula Baker Brook watershed. Information is available again through this, to register through this flyer, and it's also on our website under announcements. So if you're interested in attending and helping to establish project priorities for the city in this area, take a look at this handout and think about joining the meeting tonight at 6 o'clock. And that is all I have under MassDOT. Any questions?
George? Okay. Seeing no questions, was there one? I saw somebody.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Our next JTC meeting would be scheduled for
Wednesday, May 11th.
Yep, May 11th.
Yep.
2:30 p.m.
And major topic items will be, we're reviewing, again, the draft of the TIP and UPWP and getting recommendations for whether it should be endorsed by the MPO the following week.
Okay. Is there anything else that any members of the group would like to bring forward at this time before we move to adjourn?
I just have one quick question. You at the last MPO meeting, I guess there was a presentation on the bipartisan infrastructure law.
Yes.
And I guess they had talked about possibly doing that in an MJTC meeting over again. And I didn't know if there was any plans to do that or if possible.
Yes, I have it on our agenda. I have it on our list of what we want to do, and possibly, depending on how the rest of the items happen or come about, either next month or the month after, I think we'll be looking to do it and provide that information. I also wanted to check with George, because I believe they did their presentation on their new fare system to the MPO. And we can also probably get him to do a presentation to the JTC on the new fare system also.
Yeah, yes, we can do that.
And we'll work it out of what's a convenient time for both of us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other comments or concerns, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, and we'll see you, some of you next week and some of you next month.
Yeah.
So moved, Guy Caldacero.
Bob
Thank you.
Schwartz, move to second.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.